Are you wondering what health anxiety recovery really feels like? My friends, if you are, today's video is going to shed tremendous light on this topic. I'm going to share certain occurrences that may be happening in your life that are going unnoticed, that are actually contributing to your health anxiety healing. Welcome to another important video on my channel, my friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn more about the Health Anxiety Recovery Program, head over here. Now, I've been getting this question very often in the last couple weeks, months, even years, right? Where people struggling with health anxiety don't really know what it's like to be themselves again. They've been so caught up in the tornado of symptoms, the tornado of intrusive thinking, and these emotional states that are so fearful that they feel like they cannot even be functional as they go about their lives. They don't even know who they are anymore because they're so caught up in irrational fear. So my goal today is to shed some light on what health anxiety recovery is really like so that you can start looking at some of the things that are happening in your life and go, you know what? If I can only take on the wisdom, the intuitive wisdom that's coming to me because of this progress that I'm making, if I can only stay on this narrow path of health anxiety healing, then I will get there. And there is a place of true authenticity. And that's what we're looking for. Health anxiety healing feels like you are no longer being controlled by an unsensible voice, right? An unsensible voice. Now, you can call it the monkey mind, you can call it the ego, you can call it the lower self, as I like to. You can even call it your little me, right? And we all know this voice very well because when we wake up in the morning, we've got a few minutes where we are starting to adjust to the time and the environment and the fact that we're coming back into our conscious awareness. However, within a few minutes or a few moments after you wake up, it's like this unsensible voice starts to take over again. And with health anxiety healing, it feels like you are no longer being controlled by that voice. You may be feeling like you're replacing that voice. You maybe feel like you're no longer adding to that voice. You may feel like you're no longer giving power over to that voice or being directed by that voice. But things are happening where you feel like you're no longer being led by that unsensible voice. And what this does is when you're no longer controlled by this is it makes the next time this voice shows up more possible that you will not be led by it again. So when you have this history of success going on where you're no longer being led by this voice, but rather being led by something more subtle within you, right? I like to call it your higher self. When you're led by the higher self, everything starts to feel different. And you start to feel naked for a while, feeling like if you don't follow the unsensible voice, that something may go wrong. You feel a sense of not being protected on one side, but on the other side, you feel like you can really trust that higher self and that new voice. So the unsensible voice is very loud, and it screams the loudest within mind and body. And that subtle voice is very subtle, and it is very quiet. And if it feels like you're no longer being led by that unsensible voice, that's a very important point for you to touch on in health anxiety healing. It's also a freeing feeling, which allows you to release the emotional weight from your past that you've been carrying with you. And this is so freeing. You get to this point in health anxiety healing where you start to look at things that have happened in your past, along with the feelings and ideas that you've been carrying with you from the past, and you start to feel like you have permission that you can let these things go now. And if you don't let them go, at least a part of you feels like you no longer have to align yourself with those old ideas, those old feelings, those old traumas. And this is so vital because it really feels like a lighter place. You feel like in mind and body, you're starting to feel a certain degree of lightness come upon you because you now have this permission that you can start to really diet the emotional body. You can really let go of these things. And when you let go of these things, you start to realize that these ideas, these feelings, and the emotional weight really has nothing to do with you, but rather things that you have taken on from other people from your past and present. And now there's a feeling of, here, I'm giving this back to you. This anger is not mine. This fear is not mine. Maybe it came upon because of a certain trauma or repeated experiences. However, this is yours. This is not mine. And I give it back to you with love and compassion, right? So within health anxiety healing, there's this feeling of, I can let the emotional weight go starting today. It also allows us to see the underlying messages beneath the physical symptoms. When you're healing from health anxiety, you're no longer frantically attached to an irrational idea that's coming from your anxiety symptoms. So this attachment turns to detachment. You're detached from catastrophizing in relation to what it is you're feeling in your body. And you're starting to go, okay, as I follow this subtle or true or higher self within me, I'm realizing that whatever comes from my body is a message of some sort. And more often than not, the message is that you have crossed the line. You have gone beyond your threshold in terms of what your mind can handle, what your body can handle, what your emotions can handle. And now you're going, hey body, thanks for the message. And you see this very often with people that feel like they're getting the flu very often, or they feel sick or under the weather very often. And the ones that tend to move away from that and no longer get so sick repeatedly start to go, well, I really pushed myself physically too much in the last couple days or week. I've passed my threshold. Or mentally, I've been so fixated on certain ideas that I haven't allowed myself to be present with my current environment. And when you leave that place of repeated thinking and that place of intrusive thinking and the unsensible voice, now you're starting to go, well, I no longer have to live my life based on protecting from something that may occur in the future or looking back on my past and feeding into my victimization. That's a more than anxiety moment right there. The permission to be present. The permission to be present in thought. The permission to be present in awareness. The permission to touch something around you. The permission to see something at a deeper level in the present moment. To hear what's going on around you without negative judgments. So, as you're healing health anxiety, you're looking at your symptoms and going, thanks, right? Thanks for that message. Now I can look back on some of the patterns that have led to this symptom or this flu or this disease or this illness, and I can start to let those things go and replace them with something new. Health anxiety healing leads us to be sorting for the good rather than what could go wrong, right? So as you're healing health anxiety, it feels like the scales are starting to be balanced, because while you were suffering, all you could see was potential catastrophe. That's what you saw in the outside world first. And then once you started losing the fear, the irrational fear of what could take place in the outside world, your system started to focus on what's going on in the inside world, right? And this kind of limbo back and forth tends to happen with anxiety sufferers. When you start to feel more comfortable with your bodily symptoms, for example, this lower self or little me will start to focus on how people are judging you, or what could go wrong in the future, or financial collapse, or this or that, right? So with anxiety, it's kind of this back and forth, inside, outside, inside, outside. However, as you're healing, you feel like you're starting to sort for things in a more neutral manner. And not only neutral, but more optimistic. So as you're walking down the street, when you are suffering from health anxiety, someone would basically, cough, right? 12 meters away from you, and you would go, right? Because you don't want to catch that, or maybe something's wrong with that person and you want to distance yourself from that person. Just an example. Or you're walking down the street and all of a sudden your attention, your vision starts to move towards the bus stop. And the bus stop says, "Have you gotten your blood tests done recently?" And you're going, "Well, I did about 3 days ago, but maybe that's too long. Maybe I should go get that done again," right? Or are you carrying some kind of a heart monitor or something wrong with your lung or this and that? So with health anxiety, you will unconsciously begin to sort for things that you can see, hear, and feel that contribute to your suffering. You will see the thing that provokes health anxiety. You will hear something that provokes more health anxiety. You will touch and feel something that provokes more health anxiety. But as you're healing health anxiety, you're starting to feel like there's that poster, there's that person coughing, right? And you're going about your day going, why am I not as worried about those things? And you start to move your attention to those two beautiful people beside you that are showing love to each other. You start to notice that people are hugging each other over here and over there, or they're having a pleasant conversation, right? And you're no longer bothered by the laughter coming from those people going, hey, don't they respect my space? That irritability that comes with anxiety. But you're going, oh, that laughter is so contagious. I love it. In fact, I'm going to laugh right now for no particular reason. Thank you so much, right? So this is the sort of thing that starts to happen. You start sorting for things that are right and things that could go right, right? And with health anxiety healing, we feel we have confidence in no longer needing to be the security guard 24/7 over the physical body, right? Ooh, what could go wrong with my physical body? I have to make sure that I do this all the time, make sure that I stay away from that, make sure that I take this all the time, make sure that every single minute of the day is organized in a way where my symptoms don't get worse. You're no longer living in a world of protection, but you're living in a world of expression. And when I mean expression, you're starting to share your ideas. You're starting to feel like you can express yourself and go, you know what? My body can do its own healing. And once the mind gets out of the way, the body does do its own healing because it's the feeling that leads to the healing. When you start to feel differently about yourself, and feel like you can finally trust in your nervous system, when you can trust in your immune system, when you can trust in all your systems, when you can trust that your joints can heal themselves without you going from this to that, to that, to that. When you feel like there's trust in your body to heal, when you feel like there's trust that you can let go of a catastrophic idea and realize that it's just another idea out of the 60,000 that you get every single day, and it's up to you to grab whichever idea fits with who you are at that moment, you feel like you're taking power back. And as you're taking power back, you will be led in a direction that feels vulnerable. You will be led in a direction that feels like You're starting to let go of that tight rope that you've been hanging on to for so long. Health anxiety is living delusionally, and that's what it really is. I'm going to say it again because it's a more than anxiety moment. Health anxiety is living delusionally. And you've lived so much of your life under the illusion of fear that may approach. And the truth is, you're going to live a long life. My question to you is, how are you going to get there? When you get to the end and you're on your deathbed, are you going to look back and go, I'm so proud of how courageous I was to take that new path, to see my symptoms differently, to allow my body to heal itself and no longer follow the unsensible voice? I'm so proud that I lived my life through the guidance of my higher self. Is that the way you want to transition? I hope so, right? And if it is, then continue watching these videos. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, my friends. I believe it's the #1 anxiety support channel on YouTube. And I love you from the bottom of my heart. I truly do. And I love you because you're courageous enough to take on this journey, and you've watched this entire video from start to finish, which shows how committed you really are. I'm so proud of you. Remember that you are more than anxiety. I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.